Today, Women Media Center is very privileged to have Ms Birgit Lamm, who is the head of country office for Frederick Naumann Foundation for Freedom in Pakistan. We are very glad to have her here to have a conversation with us. Let's have a look. So thank you so much for visiting us. It's our pleasure to have you here today. So FNF has been working in Pakistan since over 1986. So it has witnessed the martial law and different regimes. So the Pakistan Parliament has definitely seen various ups and downs. What role do you think FNF has played so far as democratic institutions are still struggling to have that survival in this country?
Pakistan has been one of our focal countries since 1986. I mean, it's a long journey that the country has taken since then, and FNF has been a partner and a friend and a supportive partner in that role as well. And democracy is always a work in progress. We see that in the Western countries, basically all over the world now, how new patterns evolve or some old patterns are re-emerging, and we need to grapple with it. So for us, it's always important that citizens are empowered to take decisions for themselves. So our story in Germany as well as abroad is always we would try to empower people to take decisions for themselves. And that means engage stakeholders in relevant dialogue and also create respect for a civilized and educated topical debate. So we are very much focused on people engaging in discussing issues and also disagreeing in a civilized ways, but do not engage in degrading people personally. So it's about issues and trying to find a consensus that works for you and your society.
Freedom of expression, that is free press, has been marginalized in Pakistan. So even elected government have introduced tough laws to control the media. So do you think that freedom of expression is still a lot more threatened in Pakistan and has a long haul to go?
I think freedom of expression has a long way to go everywhere. All our societies, especially big countries like Pakistan with 220 million people, you are dependent on having reliable information to take informed decisions. Whether you're a business person, whether you're a politician, or whether you're just a normal consumer who would like to find out about the best prices for some goods. If you don't have reliable information and you cannot really compare different versions of an event or a development, you cannot really make a proper decision. This is also why so much efforts are made in order to influence public opinion, because you would like to influence the choices, the opinions, the decisions that people take. And at the same time, of course, we need to keep that space that people have access to a diversity of opinion. And of course, there's always a tight line to walk between slander, or you also don't want to have harassment in the media, or especially in the new media. You want respect, but at the same time, it shouldn't be a tool that actually suppresses deviating opinion. And I think there, we and especially media have to be very watchful as well. But I think civil society has also taken a very strong stance on defending freedom of expression, and the social media play a big role in that as well, because with social media it's not that possible for any actor anymore to actually impose a certain view on things and make sure that no alternative version is heard.
It's just going through this a publication that FNF just released. It was an women legislators on Parliament. So my question regarding that is still an underrepresented segment of society. So what strategies do you think that can enhance women in the corridors of power? Like their representation, and that there is something, because everything that was in the publication that I went through, it was like the challenges are still so real, and they're like the harassment issues, either there's discrimination. It's all like seems like nothing has changed, but definitely it has. But so what do you think is strategically things can we can see more women in power and decision making processes in particular?
I think politics is also a mirror of society as a whole. So people and also the structures that you see in politics, you see them at work in society as a whole as well. So the thing that I found very encouraging in that study was actually the positive result that the researchers found out about the performance of women. So although they are still underrepresented, most of the women parliamentarians were on reserved seats. Unfortunately, very few of them actually make it on general seats or actually, let's say, entrusted by their parties to compete on general seats. But even the women on the reserved seats, in their parliamentary work, they raised more questions on the floor, they were more active in committees, in proposing bills and all of that. Unfortunately, it's not very much raised and highlighted. So I would encourage these women also to talk about their achievements and try to highlight their work. Nowadays in social media, you can do your share in that as well. And I think also I would encourage the parties to actually don't neglect 50% of the population. Women are not only potential, let's say, competitors, but they are also voters. And it's 50% of the population. So I would say not necessarily do women vote for women, but you need to address women's issues, and I would encourage the parties also to take the female perspective into account. In the end, it's for their own benefit. And that's what we've seen in Germany as well. When the parties in their marketing research suddenly found out that women have different perspectives and do not necessarily vote for a certain candidate according to the same criteria or lines that a man does. But I think there's no way to not to acknowledge women in the future. They need training like any new parliamentarian. They need encouragement. But what I also hope for, there needs to be some acknowledgement that the top party leadership needs to make it a job of the boss to actually ensure that. Because otherwise they will lose out in the long run. Maybe not now, but you cannot not integrate 50% of your population. It has to be done.
So what has been your journey like as a woman, like you're heading this region, and the challenges that women face here in Pakistan, and then you come from a background which is definitely a developed nation. So are the challenges similar, or there's a difference in the nature of the obstacles for a woman to be at some point in career?
Well, actually, if you look at the global gender gap report that the World Economic Forum publishes every year, there is still a way to go for the whole world. And right now, unfortunately, COVID has actually done a huge step backwards for women empowerment and for vulnerable groups to reach equality. So it's for all of us still a way to go. And the gender gap report actually says that for the whole world to reach equality, it takes about 100 to 150 years. So we all have our step to go. Unfortunately, Pakistan for the last years has always been among the last 3 countries. So Pakistan still has, let's say, a longer way to go than our countries. But still, I would like to say that some general patterns are there which we all have to work on. But I do acknowledge that women here in Pakistan face specific issues. But there are also amazing women and amazing actors who try to change this. And in order to change that situation, I think the first thing is empower yourself. You need to believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe that you can do a job, that you can take on a task, how you as a person can actually convince someone else that he's going to give you the job and you can deliver if you don't believe in yourself. At the same time, okay, you're faced with personal reservations or someone else is not believing in you. You cannot force that person to actually trust in you. But if you don't believe in yourself, you will not even be able to convince anyone else to give you a job. So, or for example, or entrust you with something. So there are always two sides for it. We need to give role models to women. We need to encourage ourselves every day to step up, have a dream, and work for it. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. I think we women very often, we are always concerned that we have to be better, that we're not allowed to make mistakes. This is something which, by the way, I've never seen in any man. They say they can do a job, and if there's something that goes wrong, okay, it wasn't his day, or maybe he was just unlucky. But women then start getting really concerned about it. And it's natural that these things happen. And this is something that I actually learned from my sports coach as well. He said, don't worry about a ball that you missed in the past. Because if you start worrying about the ball you missed in the past, you're going to miss the next ball too. It's about the next ball that you need to hit, and you need to play it back nicely. There's a lot of things that we need to change, especially also access to opportunities, access to education. And we all have different talents. But we are also all good at something, whether you are educated or you're not. And I think the first issue is really having opportunities and being able to make choices. And that's the thing that we really need to work on.
FNF has been one of the the first donor for Women Media Center initially. So over the decade and at all this period's time, today you have visited Women Media Center. Firstly, how do you feel about it? And how do you feel in particular that initially when it was a bud, like not even bloomed, and so now having sustained this position that it has in the media industry, how do you feel about it?
Well, actually, I would just say congratulations to its founder, Fawzia Shaheen, and obviously also to the great team, because there's not only one person. You always need to have a great team to support you to actually make it happen and identify a clear need which you need to address that actually can explain the result that you've really had. I'm absolutely amazed to see that what happened and started in 2005 as a small organization now has developed and bloomed into a fully fledged training center with more than 1,000 graduates and successful female professionals, and also this very professional studio that we are seeing here now, addressing a need of training university graduates who want to go into journalism and teach them the tools of the profession and then keep track of them and supporting them during their careers. So I would say a big thumbs up to you, and I'm really curious to see your graduates, and hopefully there'll be many, many more future graduates who take on the challenges of the digital age and the new developments that you have in journalism.